Hey guys, welcome to this video. My name's ThaTimster. Today I'm going to be going over how to add low poly trees to your games in the Blender game engine. Now I have done a tutorial on this previously, except the vertices for each tree in that was about 1,000, so if you wanted to have a forest it got really heavy in regards to performance. However, these trees here are only about 200. Now the downside is at a close distance these trees don't really look so good. However, at a distance for a sort of RTS or top-down game, these trees work really well and can in most cases look better than the normal ones. So in this tutorial we'll be covering how to add this along with all the leaves and creating the leaf texture as well. Then once we've got that sorted, we'll also be going over how to change the texture if you want to add flowers or different types of leaves and stuff like that. And then additionally, we'll also be going over how to add stylized versions with just colors. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a new blend file. And here I'm going to go to Blender Game, GLSL, animation frame rate of 60, so just sort of the standard settings. X delete, Shift A, edit plane, S to scale, maybe 20, and then here Shift A, add myself a cylinder. This is going to be my trunk, so I'm just going to scale it upwards, SZ, S Shift Z, and down here. Then tab to go into edit mode, or just edit mode down here, numpad 1, numpad 5, and then Z to go into wireframe. You can just select it down here. Then I'm going to press A, deselect, B, and select this one, E to extrude, move it over here, S to scale, A to deselect, B, E to extrude, S to scale again, and then Control R, add a loop cut, click, and then rotate it, move it over here, and again do the same on this side. Alright, and then maybe scale these tops down a bit. Right, now of course if you want to you can use a sapling add-on or any other add-ons and make your trunk look a bit nicer. However, for this tutorial it should just be fine what we've got right now. So here I'm going to go into solid view. Now in regards to the shading, you'll notice this one looks fine and this one looks fine, but this one's really dark and looks strange. And the reason for that is that the normals have been inverted and are facing in the wrong direction. This means if we go into texture view here and we press play, that only the inside will get rendered instead of the outside. So to fix that, we're going to go into edit mode, then we're going to go into face select, hold down Alt and then right click, hold down Shift and Alt and right click here, and it will select sort of both rings of faces. Then we'll go over into UVs and shading and click flip direction. And now once we've done that, back into object mode, the shading should be normal, and when you press play, it should render the outside. One more thing we'll do is go over here to shading and click smooth. Press S to scale, move it down, and then GZ and move it down here. So now what I'm going to do is left click here and then rotate the view, make sure it's in the right spot. And then what we're going to do is press Shift A, add myself a plane, and this is going to be one of our leaf textures. So here let's go ahead and call this leaf, and then here we'll add a new material. Let's give it a sort of green color, and then we'll turn off specular, make it shadeless. And down here we'll choose halo. Now what's very important is that the halo option will track on the x-axis. So right now it will always face us looking like this and we won't be able to see it. So to fix that we have to rotate it on the y-axis so that the front face here is facing in the x direction. So press R, Y90 and then enter, and then Control A and apply rotation. So now if we press play, that should be facing towards us. Now you'll notice it doesn't, and the reason for that is we're still in orthographic view. So to fix that, press numpad 5 to go into perspective so we see what the camera sees. And now if you press play, that plane should always be facing towards you no matter which direction you are looking at it. So that's the basic mechanic for getting the leaves working. Now what we need is a texture to put on this. So what we're going to do is go up here, File, and then Save. I'm just going to call it Tree, and then click Save Blend File. Make sure that you've saved it. We're going to go to File New, open up another blend file. So here we're going to press X and delete, Shift A, edit plane, and this here is going to be our leaf. Then here we're going to add ourselves a material and turn off specular. We'll also make it shadeless and turn on the transparency alpha to 0. Here add a texture, and we're going to go down to alpha and then click open. So here I've got myself a leaf texture from textures.com. If you want to go ahead and get one or get another leaf texture from there, feel free. There'll be a link down in the description below. Now with this leaf texture, you have to have an alpha channel so we can get nice cutouts of the leaves. So once you've done that, we're going to go down here, make sure alpha is checked. Then we'll go into texture view, select this window here, go down and choose GLSL. Then I'm going to press tab, go into edit mode, U and unwrap. Then tab back into object mode, SX, scale it on the X-axis. Now we'll need some vertices to warp it a bit and make it look a bit more like a leaf. So here, tab, edit mode, Control R, add a couple vertices, and then click, and then select this middle one here by holding down Shift, O. So what O does is it goes ahead and enables proportional editing, and that just allows us to move other vertices in the surrounding area. So here I'm going to press GZ. You'll notice it doesn't look too good, so I'm going to scroll out and it will affect the other vertices a bit more. Then I'm going to press Control R in the middle here and just move it down. Scroll in a bit so we don't affect the outer ones as much. And then I'm just going to select these two edges and move them down a bit. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Here I'm going to select this and go to smooth for shading as well. Alright, so numpad 7 to go into top view, Control Alt and numpad 0. And here in our render settings we need to set a good texture size. So 256 by 256. Set the resolution to 100%. And shading, we'll choose transparent. Now here's a reference picture of a normal tree. Basically what we're trying to do is sort of reduplicate these circles of branches and leaves, and then basically we'll just be putting all of those together on top of each other to make it look as if there's a tree there with lots of leaves. In Blender here what we have to do is we have to duplicate these lots in different patterns out the side like this, and then we'll use that texture and put it on our tracking plane. Now one useful trick for adding more variation is first of all moving this across, press Shift D to duplicate, GY, and then press Control M to mirror, and then Y. And this will mirror it on the Y-axis. So now it will look like we have a bit more variation. Alright, so here I have a texture that I'm happy with. So now what you want to do is try and limit the amount of gap you have around the edges. So just to do that, I'm going to move it up a bit, selecting the camera and GY, and then GZ to bring it down a bit. And we just want to make sure that there's only a small amount of border around the outside. And this will just ensure that we get the most pixels for our image. So now what I'll do is go over here to render out the image, and then go to image, save as image. Here I'm going to call this leaf texture. And then we'll go over here, compression to full, make sure it's RGBA, and then we'll click save as image. So now that we've rendered this out, what we can actually do is just replace this texture and get a completely different looking branch for a different tree. What we're going to do here is go to the materials, then go to the texture, open up a new texture. So for example here, I've just opened up a cherry blossom image. If you wanted to, you could add different images of leaves or flowers or anything else, up to you. And so now if we press F12, we have a completely different texture that we can use for a whole new tree. So this can be really handy if you want to have a big variety without doing too much work. All you need to basically do is duplicate this and just replace the texture. So here I'm going to press F12, and then we'll go to image, save as image. Instead of leaf texture, I'm going to call this flower texture. And then we'll go down here, RGBA, compression to full, and then save as image. Now also what I'm going to do is go to here, file, and we'll click save. Now this file I'm going to call leaf stencil, save as blend file. So let's go up here to file, click open, and open up our tree file. Now what we want to do is we want to replace this texture. So first of all, down here, alpha blend, we want to choose alpha clip. Then scroll down, choose transparency, turn it on, and alpha to nothing, specular to nothing. Here, texture tab, click new, and then click open. So now from my folder, I'm going to select the leaf texture, then I'll click open image, and you'll notice nothing happens. So we have to scroll down here and we have to choose alpha. Tab, go into edit mode, U and unwrap, and then back into object mode. Alright, so there's our basic beginning of a leaf. Now the problem is, for example, if we look just from this angle, you'll notice that the trunk comes through the leaf texture. So especially if we look down here at it, it's sort of distracting having the trunk in the way, because it draws away from the actual leaf texture. The leaves are meant to be on top of the trunk so you don't actually see it. So to do that, we're going to go into the material settings. We're going to change the Z offset. This basically just means that these leaves here will get rendered in front of the trunk. So here under the Z offset, I'm going to select 150. So now if we press play, you'll notice it's in front of the trunk. And this is really useful because now whatever angle you look at it, the leaves will always be in front to some certain extent. Now we don't want our leaves here to be shadeless, otherwise they'd look a bit boring and you don't get to see that nice depth. So to fix that, we're going to go into the material settings here for our leaf, turn off shadeless, and then we'll go over here into the texture panel, scroll up, and here we're going to add a separate type of normal map. So in the texture slot, click it and then click new, image or movie, and down in the description below is a link to a spherical normal map that's been smoothed out so it will make our texture look very nice. It should look something like this. Then once you've done that, what we're going to do is scroll down, go to the image sampling, choose normal map, scroll down again, and here choose normal. Then turn off color. And if you want to, maybe turn it down to 0.7, and you should get something like this. Now what we want to do is here, instead of a point light, we want a hemi. So if this isn't dark enough, what you can do is just drag up the normal map here, and it will add darker values to your texture. Now if the leaf texture here is facing away from the hemi lamp, it's almost completely black. So to fix that, just go to the material settings, and here we'll add a bit of emission, maybe 0.1. And this will just get rid of the completely dark background. Alright, so that is pretty much it. Now all we need to do is duplicate the slots along the tree. So I'm going to press numpad 1, numpad 5, and then RZ minus 90. Rotate it like this. And now all we need to do is we need to duplicate it lots all over our tree. Alright, so once you're happy with how the tree is set out, we're going to add some random rotation. At the moment you'll notice it's all sort of the same, and the reason is, even if you rotate it now, it won't make a difference in game because of this halo face orientation. So what we have to do is go into edit mode, then press R, X, and X again to rotate it on the local X axis, and just rotate it something like that. Alright, so just select a random leaf, go into edit mode, R, and then double tap X, rotate it a bit, go back into object mode and select another one, and just rotate around the leaves until you have something that you're happy with. So once you're happy with how the leaves look, we're going to select one of the leaves here, and then we'll go over here into proportional editing, and here we'll choose random. So we want to select a leaf texture in the middle here somewhere, so maybe this one, and then what we want to do is we want to move it across. Now you'll notice it doesn't really affect the other ones, so instead what we're going to do is press GY and then scroll out, so it does affect the other ones, and maybe not moving the trunk, but something like that, and then we're just going to move these ones forward a bit. Again, maybe move it back a bit, and so we can just get some sort of random placement around the tree. Alright, so I'm happy with something like that. Now what I'm going to do is press numpad 5, and we'll go into perspective mode. Then what I'm going to do is select the trunk, give it a quick texture, maybe not even a texture, let's just make it brown. Okay, something like that, no specular. And so there we go, we have a tree. Now all we need to do is we need to parent all these leaves to the tree. So H to hide, B to box select, select all of these, deselect the floor, select the main trunk, Control P, and parent. Alright, so now these should all move together. I'm going to turn off proportional editing. So now what you have to do is just test that all the angles work. So most of these look fine. There might be some that don't work so well. For example, this one here. So what you might just need to do is move these across, or you can just go ahead and increase the Z offset to maybe 200. so these are closer to the camera than the tree trunk. But pretty much that is the main process of how to create a tree like this. So now what we'll do is briefly go over how to change the texture. So I'm going to select all of it without the floor, Shift D to duplicate, GX, move it over here, select one of these, then go over into our materials, click this 22 to make a new material, go to the texture tab, and then select this first one here, click the 2, and then click open. We'll choose our flower texture, and then click open. And now we'll have one of those, but we want all of them. So press Z to go into wireframe, and then B to box select, select everything here, deselect the trunk, and then go to materials, here, copy material to others. So now in texture view, everything should look like that. And you can pretty much do the same thing for the stylized trees as well. All you're doing is removing the color. So for example, this one here, if I press B to box select it, and then Shift D to duplicate, GX, now I can select one of these, select the number 22, and then here in the texture tab, select the texture, click the number 2. All I'm going to do is deselect color. So now we can basically, in the materials tab, just select whichever color we want. So for example here, we can just choose a bluish color. To copy the material across, we'll just do what we did before, select this one here, B to box select everything else, but try not to select anything else, so deselect the trunk, and then again, here, copy material to others. As you'll notice at the top here, we have 948 vertices, which divided by 4 is close to 200. So we're fairly close to our threshold. The reason we have a little bit more is because we added these sort of bends in the trunk here. So the trunk is the main determining factor of how many vertices your mesh has. So if you keep that fairly low poly, then the rest of it should be fine. Alright, so there we go guys, that's the end of this tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, comment, or share down below. All of those things are greatly appreciated. If your one didn't work out, there'll be a finished blend in the description below as always. But apart from that, hope you enjoyed the video, have an awesome week, and I'll see you guys in the next one.